Draws, and more draws. Let's talk about some draws. Let's start with Chicago Red Stars versus Washington Spirit. This one ending in a 1-1 draw. Lisa, I think we both went Spirit in this one. If memory serves me correct.
Yeah, we did.
Love to put ourselves on blast. We are both incorrect.
Were you at this game?
I was at this game. It was a delight. I wanted to go see the Trinity Rodman show, and you know what? Aaron Wright said not tonight.
Yeah.
Aaron Wright said not tonight. Tatum Malasso also said not tonight.
Yeah.
There was a very good defensive effort by Chicago. Made some adjustments. I think, look, throwing it back to the preview portion of this, I said when we were making our picks that if for whatever reason Chicago went into this game against Chicago Red Stars and they still lined up in a 3-bag without making any adjustments, that they were going to lose this game. It turns out they did make a tweak. They did make some adjustments. We mostly saw 4 in the back, and they didn't lose this game, but they didn't exactly win this game either. But listen, who loves a point in the NWSL? I would say most teams in the early stretches of the regular season love a point.
I mean, for Washington, they stay undefeated in this one. It's back-to-back draws for the Spirit. This was a team that came into the weekend undefeated, and hey, they remained it. And Chicago picks up points after a loss. It's 2 losses to start the year. They're coming off a loss. They got one. I think that neither side probably too happy with the results of this, but ultimately the way it came down, I think Chicago pretty happy with it because Washington controlled the majority of the first half of this game. They moved really slow in possession. They're this methodical buildup that Washington has, and then they quickly attack and they find Sanchez and they find Rodman and they look to get inside. But the possession-wise, I don't know what the numbers were at 45 minutes, but I imagine Washington was controlling the possession of this game because they just had the ball for most of it. I think Ashley Sanchez was pretty impressive during this game for Washington Spirit, the way that she was able to occupy those half spaces and sit between the lines. It asked questions of Washington's defense, of Chicago's defense, but you're right. I think that ultimately Aaron Wright, Tatum Milazzo, the back line for Chicago did a really nice job handling what is the most prolific player and the most dangerous one for Washington, and Trinity Rodman. They really did a nice job because the way that Washington ultimately gets their goal is on a penalty kick. That's it. It was
I do want to say for a second, when this penalty occurred, for a moment there, Amber Brooks was at the spot.
I saw that.
And we were like, yes, Amber Brooks. There were a ton of us taking in this game. I have to send a shout out to Andre Carlisle, was there covering the Spirit in person in Chicago. And there were a ton of us in person to cover this game. We were like, yes, Amber Brooks is going to take this PK. But no, it ended up going to Hatch.
Yeah, we were like watching it. I was watching it on my screen and I was like, what is Amber Brooks doing there? She's just keeping it warm. What's happening? And then Ashley Hatch comes rolling up on it. That was her 4th goal. Ashley Hatch's 4th goal of the year for Washington. So she's leading the way right now, or tied at the front of the line for Golden Boot race. And her 2nd penalty kick goal, that came right before the half-hour mark for Washington. And the way that this was shot, for those that didn't get to see it, Alyssa Nair gets hands on it. She does try to make a save. She guesses the right way. She gets hands on the shot, but it's just too powerful and it still finds the back of the net. But before halftime, Chicago is able to equalize. So the response from the Red Stars was very impressive. What did you think of the way they responded on the St. George goal?
I loved it. Listen, I think Bianca St. George's is getting off to a very good start this season, and I think this is one of those players, when you're looking at the roster as a whole for Chicago, that you're going to look for those kind of key figures to make an impact in a game, especially now when you're looking at the very long season in front of you and you're going to be without Mallory Swanson. Who are some of these players that maybe you're going to look to have those key moments, or kind of create those very creative moments of brilliance on the pitch? And I think for Chicago Red Stars, maybe one of those players is likely Bianca St. George's. So not only did I like that this was a player who continued to show her ability on the ball with this team. I liked that they gave the 2 rookies the start together. We got to see Penelope Hawking, Allison Schlegel go ahead and get a start together as rookie, which is not something that we've necessarily seen. We've seen them get some playing time together, but not a consecutive start, sort of build over the long stretch of a game. And I like what we're seeing out of Chicago's rookies. This is
Schlegel gets the assist.
It's a tough league to eat up some minutes, and a lot of those first year players are starting to get some more time with Chicago. I thought it was a great response, but I also noticed in that second half, it almost sort of felt like this team was getting so into their defensive shape where I was like, wow, are they just killing this game off at the 50th minute?
Yeah.
But that's the thing about Chicago at times. I think that's a bit, embedded within their kind of team identity and culture at times, that they are a team that will kind of just like organize you to death.
Yeah.
And sometimes they can do that. And it was a little curious for me, but I think this was really something that the defensive backs really, really wanted, because kind of talking to some of these players in the post game afterwards, they talked about how tough that was to come out of that game against the Reign, having conceded 5 goals, that they wanted to have a better performance, a better response to that. Casey Kruger, one of those players available in post game, and said that was very tough. And it was actually really emotional to kind of come off and make sure that they built off of that game and had a better performance, in their following week against another team that has a very good attacking presence, whether it's, Rodman on the ball or Sanchez or Hatch, et cetera, et cetera. So not a win, but I think maybe a bigger moral victory, perhaps, for if you're on the Red Star side of things.
Yeah, I agree with that one. And you're right. The defensive shape for Chicago, they switched right in the middle of the game. They went from a 3-back to a 4-back, which shows, I think, the organization of this team and their off-ball IQ and the ability to be able to do that while still defending against some of the fastest and most dangerous front three in Hatch, Sanchez, and Rodman. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let's maybe talk about another draw, because we've got 3 of them to chat about in this segment. Let's talk about one that actually produced a high level of goals. We're talking about Portland Thorns FC versus Angel City FC, a 3-3 scoreline. We got treated to a 6er in this one after dark, y'all. You love to see it. Of course, prediction time. I believe we both went Portland Thorns in this one.
We both
we are both incorrect, and it is a draw.
This game had everything, all of the action that needed. It didn't kick off until 10:30, right? Or 10. So it was a late night action, NWSL After Dark. And it started literally from end to end. There was not a dry moment throughout this game, because Alyssa Thompson gets on the board first for Angel City, goes up 1-0. This goal from Alyssa Thompson to start this game is very, very indicative of Alyssa Thompson and her skill, because she picks up the ball practically at the halfway point and she's able to use her skill and then her pace. I mean, this is like one of the fastest players I've seen play. Thompson has a great burst of speed. She cuts back onto her right foot when she gets inside the box. She loses her defender. She honestly makes Kelly Hubley look silly. And that is very hard to do, because Kelly Hubley is one of the top defenders in the league. And Thompson just makes her look silly and finds the back of the net. But Portland responds, right? It was also a very back and forth game. It's not like Angel City went up 3-0.
It was frantic.
It was incredibly frantic. There's a penalty kick, 3 penalty kicks this weekend. And this is another one. Hina Sugita burying this for Portland Thorns. That's around the half-hour mark. So at this point, it's 1-1. This penalty kick called against Julie Ertz as well, because we got to see Julie Ertz get the start for Angel City. It's Morgan Weaver just streaking down the sidelines, and I think Weaver had a great game, but Weaver sends the cross into the box. It's looking for Crystal Dunn, and Ertz just takes out Dunn, penalty kick, and before you know it, it's 1-1, all tied up. But I was very impressed with Morgan Weaver throughout this game. This is a player that at the start of the year, I said that she needs to step up, and I think Sophia Smith is allowing a lot of opportunity for Weaver to step up, because they're playing off the ball really well together. They're feeding each other really well, and before you know it, Weaver, it helps draw this penalty kick, right? She's the one that plays the ball into the box. And then she responds with a goal of her own at around the 65th minute in the second half for Portland.
Yeah, I liked her build into this game because, I mean, there was a bit of an opportunity here. Let's be real. Sophia Smith did not get the start in this game. And I think when you look at that, you're like, okay, who's it going to be in this game? Because I think Sophia Smith has so often showed that she is the catalyst and the conclusion. I think when it comes to Portland Thorns and their attack, she's either serving them up or getting them in the back of the net. And so to sort of see Weaver and in a game like this be able to kind of build over time without her attacking counterpart and someone in someone as Smith, I thought it was a good game from her, and I like that. Obviously she's able to get on the score sheet and sort of get rewarded for that. But I mean, service from Moultrie as well, another player I thought had a good game for the Thorns as well. I think that's the beauty of a game like this, where all this chaos, that you could maybe take like these little 5-minute to 10-minute stretches of the game and pick out an MVP for that 5 or 10-minute stretch of the game.
Gosh. I mean, yes, I know what you're talking about, but I'm going to disagree. It's Bella Bixby. How often do we get goalkeepers?
I was building up to it. I'm building up to it. We got to build it up and hype it up as much as possible.
Spoiler alert.
Because it was such an epic moment, historic moment. If we really want to keep it real, listen, I don't know of a draw that could have felt any more like a game winner other than this one particular moment. We're talking about at the death, when there's nothing else left to be had. Bella Bixby off of a set piece corner kick and a back heel goal to make it all level and to split the points. Angel City thought they were about to spoil that party, and Bella Bixby had other plans.
Massive. This is massive. It's back-to-back corner kicks that Portland ends up having, and Bella Bixby's in there for both of them. She's in there for the first one and it doesn't happen. She's got to sprint back halfway. And then there's another corner kick for Portland, and she's standing right in front of Didi Hadachich for Angel City's goalkeeper. And the ball, they interviewed her post game and they're like, tell us what happened. And she was like, I don't really know. The ball just landed to me and I just kicked it. And she didn't even know it went in. It ends up being a back heel, which was very cool. Only the second goalkeeper in NWSL history to score, Michelle Bedos being the first one. Also when Michelle Bedos played for Portland. So it's got to be a Portland thing. It's a Portland thing, I think.
Maybe something special up there in the water in the Pacific Northwest. We'll see.
We also saw Julie Ertz doing Julie Ertz things, back to scoring goals off corner kicks and set pieces. A set piece.
Making herself a threat in those on those set piece corners again, which is something that she was quite comfortable doing for country. She wasn't always targeted for club. I will say that, having watched her a bunch of times in Chicago, but it was great to see a player like that kind of really, we're talking about reintroducing herself to a lot of eyeballs, maybe who have forgotten about her presence on the pitch and what that could mean for a team. But this was a delightful NWSL chaos after dark at its finest hour, for sure. Absolutely. Shout out to Peace Mode. It was Disney movie worthy for sure. Let's talk about another draw, though, because of course we've got a trio of them to talk about. The 1000th NWSL game in its history was between Racing Louisville and OL Reign. By the time this game kicked off, they rang in the milestone, and of course, it ended in a delightful 2-2 draw. Well, maybe not so delightful if you're Racing Louisville, because again, let's take it on back to the picks, Lisa. In this one, we were going the way of the Reign.
Yeah. So you said OL Reign and you said goals, and I said OL Reign narrow.
Look, I'll take the 4 goals.
So you take the goals. I'm trying to toss you a bone here.
I got to take something. Gosh, tough this week. Look, talking about tough. TUFF. Too ugly for feedback.
I love when you say that.
I feel for Racing. And look, we're taking it back to the preview.
Yeah.
We were like, listen, they were one of these undefeated teams in the first 3-ish weeks of the season, but there were a lot of common threads from their previous season that I think that has been kind of haunting them, because it's a team that has struggled to close out a game or squeak out that win. And they've got another one on the schedule, done and dusted, that they can look at and say, God, we let another one get away from us. They had Racing had OL Reign on the ropes.
Yep, sure did.
And just were unable to close one out. They talk about a comeback from the Reign in this one.
Honestly, like a heartbreaker for Racing Louisville fans, for Racing Louisville players, because this game was all Louisville. They start strong. They start early. Opening goal coming in the 7th minute. Paige Monahan's first goal for the Big Perp. And then DeMello gets another one right at halftime, 45 minutes going into the halftime, up to nothing. Fantastic. Racing Louisville is really happy about this. Megan Rapinoe gets the start for OL Reign, right? We've talked a lot about Rapinoe's minutes and how she's building them back up, and she ends up getting the start. But Louisville says, hey, you're in our house, and this is completely our game. 100%, we're going to own this. And the first goal that OL Reign scores, it's Megan Rapinoe who scores it, but it comes off a penalty kick. So this is our third of 3 penalty kicks that happened this weekend. And it's a foul on Katie Lund against Jordan Heitema. It is a foul inside the box, penalty kick for sure. But the fact that the goal for OL Reign doesn't even come in the run of play initially, I still had a lot of faith for Racing Louisville. I was like, man, this is a backbreaker, but you're still up 2-1 at this point. You just got to hold out for the rest of the game, because this was right around the 70th minute, 68th. The foul was called, and then by the time it scored, it's around the 70th minute. And of course, it's Megan Rapinoe finding the back of the net. Like, of course, are you kidding me? Fantastic. And at this point, I'm like, Racing Louisville still got this. They've still got this. I want them to win. Even though I picked OL Reign, I did, because how well Racing Louisville was playing, how the pieces were coming together. Savannah DeMello, I think, was having a fantastic game.
So good.
Fantastic game. She ends up getting 2 yellow cards on a frustration play, not even a foul that happens. The whistle is blown, the ball lands to her, and she just kicks it straight in the air. And that's her second yellow. So now around just after the 70th minute mark, Louisville is down 10 players. And Savannah DeMello, who is arguably one of the best players in the first 70 minutes of that game, is now sitting on the bench.
Yep. Not a scenario you want to find yourself in at all. I mean, and it's painful too, even maybe just going through the rundown of the final numbers and something like this. We're talking 16 shots for Racing versus 10 by the Reign, 8 attempts on target for Louisville compared to 4 from the Reign as well. And this one, 7 corners for Racing compared to 2 from OL. I mean, it's again, tough. I just got to repeat it. I mean, I'm still looking. I think that's where we're at. That's where we're at in this first, when we're looking at Racing specifically, that's where we're at in this kind of first quarter of the season. We're still looking for the win, for the full 90-minute performance from this team to go ahead and like really kind of maybe propel them into some better positioning on this table.
So reading the chat right now, Sad Dingus saying, hey, feel bad for DeMello. She'll learn from this, right? So she totally will. I'm with you on this one, Sad Dingus. But Sandra, do you think that what DeMello did was warranted as the second yellow?
Oh, man, you're asking me to be an official right now? I can't be an official.
I'm asking you to be a fan. I'm asking you to be a fan. I'm asking you to be a fan.
I'm like, I'm on a podcast. Listen, the podcaster in me says, sure, valid. The neutral in me who just wants to watch the game.
Yeah, that's what
I'm screaming my head off and saying, what?
I agree. Yeah. I agree. Even as someone that like myself that knows the rules very well, like, yes, that's you're allowed to do that, right?
You can make a case for it.
You can make a case for it completely, especially how the player has played throughout the game. And she had already received a yellow, and now this was a call against her team. And in frustration, she does kick the ball. But like, for those that didn't get to see it, she kicks the ball straight up in the air. Yeah. Straight up in the air.
It's also one of those things where it's like, maybe she was taking some frustration out. You never know. And all of a sudden the ball shoots up and you're like, oh crap.
Yeah. It's not like she skied it 30 yards into the stand, 50 rows up, and it was like, I'm getting this ball out of here. It's not like she kicked it the opposite way towards the goal, just like getting the ball away. She literally just kicked it up in the air.
I hate it.
I don't know. But the fact that she was already on a yellow is like, okay, right? Yeah. Like you kind of warranted into that. If she didn't have a yellow, I don't think it would have been a call.
And I think that's what it is. I think at this point, you've been given the official yellow. The center referee you're already in the book, so it's like the whole concept of like, don't give that official a reason to give you that second yellow. So is it a harsh second yellow? Yeah, I think there's also I'm sure there's a counter argument to be made about the fact that this is it's women's professional sport, and it's a player showing emotion, and perhaps that's different, if we're looking at a different league and it's not a women's pro league, and it's not that type of athlete making that move, and it's a woman athlete getting punished for showing emotion. And I'm in agreement with that. There's there's that side of the case to be made as well. So just sort of being a neutral, just someone who loves to watch NWSL week in and week out. I hated to see it. Didn't like it.
Breaks my heart. I think that would have changed the game, honestly, because at this point, OL Reign had just scored. It's only 2-1. Louisville still has the lead, but Jordan Huitema, who draws the penalty kick to get the first goal for OL Reign, she equalizes in the 89th minute. An assist from Alana Cook. Cook curls this ball in. It's lofting, and Huitema just jumps up, uses her head, finds the back of the net, and that's how it all ends out. I think a game changer. For sure, it shouldn't feel like
a heartbreaker, and yet here we are.
It does. I know. Even though we both picked OL Reign, we're like, poor Louisville.
I know. That's the beauty of being wrong on these picks. We quickly shift our perspective.
We got 70 minutes from Megan Rapinoe in this match. 70 minutes.
We talked about that in the preview too. We said, listen, what are we starting to finally see the buildup of minutes for Megan Rapinoe? And that's a big jump from where we were looking at. We saw like 15 minutes at one point, and then I think another 20 minutes and another, and it was like she was up to like 32 something total minutes. And good on Megan Rapinoe for being able to get a good chunk of this game behind her. And you know what? It's a big game too. The 1000th game. It was good to see a lot of those veterans out there who've been part of the league for so long, specifically with the Reign franchise. A 2-2 draw. I'll take the heavy lofty score line because I got to get something out of these predictions.